Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super Fantify. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mecha-Ude, Mechanical Arms, Season 1, Episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So in this episode, we have Alma and Hikaru on a mission. Based on some of the dialogue, it seems like this isn't like their first mission. It seems like there might have been some other missions in between, but in the way they make it sound, it seems like Alma has a tendency to kind of blow up the situation. Because obviously when it comes to his fellow Mecha-Ude, he gets a little impatient. So when this guy is, trying to shackle one of the Mecha-Udes, it sets him off, and so causes problems because the others are kind of like, oh, well, one of the trio that's watching over him is like, do you think Hikaru who can really handle this? But it's like, well, we got to take the training wheels off every once in a while, so we have to make sure that's the only way he's actually going to grow. But home dude that they fought in this episode, turns out he has 3 Mecha-Udes on him. Luckily, what's his name, Tani, who has like the skateboard, shows up, but also so does Aki. And the guy gets easily defeated because he overwhelms himself, because he uses multiple Mecha-Udes, and it drains his stamina because they feed off of the Arbitrium, and so it's like, right, you're having 3 pulling energy from you at once. Yeah, it's too much. Which I guess that also shows how special Aki's circumstances are, that she can wield 2, because everyone does only use 1 at a time. So it's like, yeah, you can use multiples, but it takes too much of a toll on your body unless you can compensate for it, which I guess Aki's built up. She's probably trained and worked hard enough, because we don't know how she got her Mecha-Udes in the first place, how she got associated with ARMS. Did ARMS save her after what happened to her family? And she's been a part of the organization since. So she's trained and trained. Maybe she only had 1 at the beginning, but then found out that they're a twofer. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to train, because the only way I'm going to deal with the worm type is I need to be as strong as possible. Because, I mean, to be fair, those Mecha-Udes are like, they're 2 separate Mecha-Udes, but they are like twins. They're siblings. They're a package deal. So she probably had to work her way up to using both of them at the same time. So, like I said, I was unclear of like whether or not, because they are considered 2 separate ones and they both come off different legs, it must mean she has a mark on both legs, like the sigil from where the arms come out of. It's like the Mecha-Udes come out of. She has to have 1 on each leg. So like I said, I'm just so curious. Did she have to work her way up to 2, or did she automatically start with the 2 and just trained herself in preparation to get better about that? We'll probably dive into Aki's past and her like early days with the arms and with her Mecha-Udes eventually. But yeah, the guy that from Kagami they were dealing with immediately gets possessed by the worm type, and now we have a better idea of what it does. It like kind of sends whoever it is in berserker mode. This guy was exhausted and passed out, but he was awakened and forced to fight, and so he was ridiculously strong. Luckily, Alma and Hikaru came through and knocked him out. And luckily, in the end, they were able to capture this guy, but also rescue all those other Mecha-Udes. I guess like it was kind of an exhausting night because Hikaru was pretty late getting up the next day, and it ended up being Aki having to drag him out of bed. And he was still in his pajamas. She had gotten some of his school uniform and like literally carried him to school. But she's like, yeah, I might have been going too fast for him, because he was awake, but I guess like she was moving so fast with her Mecha-Udes that probably like made him, like the G-force of it all probably like made him pass out. I should also backtrack too, because of the worm type, because it wasn't just her, but her Mecha-Ude saw it too. She's, trying to figure out, like, what does this guy know about it? So Kagami might not know anything about the worm type, but maybe it's just this guy didn't know anything. Who knows what Kagami might know? So, and Glasses guy who works for ARMS is like, yeah, like, also, like, you don't have to just rely on Hikaru, like, rely on me too. So it seems like he's got a bit of a crush on Aki. But I also love that this episode, staying on Aki, I love that this episode emphasizes something I kind of took notice of, but didn't really put it in a grand scheme of a context. until this episode. Like, once again, we know Aki's obsessed with eating, and this episode really, like, personifies that. But I was like, it's so interesting because I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I feel like you don't see too many female protagonists that have that archetype. You know, your typical, it's usually like your male protagonist of a shonen series that has a whole, like, oh, I'm a big eater and I'm a bit of an idiot. Like I said, I think Aki is very much like a I go by my instincts type of person. She doesn't overthink things. She's kind of, like I said, she's full steam ahead, like bull in a china shop type of situation. You know, so I think she's kind of like your kind of simple-minded, like, you know, hungry protagonist, like a Luffy, like a Naruto, like a Goku. Like I said, I'm sure there are female character archetypes like that in anime, but I'm like, I feel like I know more male counterparts to that. Because that I associate it with like a male protagonist thing rather than a female protagonist thing. So there's like one that can come to mind. Like Milliam from Trails can be like that, I guess. She could be like that when it comes to food and stuff, but like not to the same extent as Aki. But either way. Also, they have a new transfer student, and that's June, but he was only able to come to the school if under one condition he couldn't use his Mecha-Ude. So he's going to target Hikaru and Alma eventually, but he wants to get stronger because he hasn't fully 100% synchronized with Ouroboros. It's like he can use it mostly, but it's like he wants to learn from Hikaru, like what their differences are so that he can learn how to properly master Ouroboros and then come for Alma. So that's his main reason for transferring to this school, which is so, I mean, it's understandable why Aki would have beef with him. I mean, considering all the like havoc he calls, like separating and ripping Mecha-Udes from their human counterparts. It makes sense why. And also, it's like, right, you're after Alma, and it's up to us to protect Alma. It's just so interesting. I wonder, once again, his brother's the CEO. I mean, it could be his dad, but I'm pretty sure it's just his brother who's the CEO. And it just, once again, we don't know where he stands. He's just working away, and the rest of the organization is doing its thing. He hasn't really given out orders. So I'm like, are you really okay with your brother just doing this? And I guess it's like, who cares? Like, we get Alma back, or maybe he's just like, I'm doing all this other stuff. When we eventually get Alma back, it'll be necessary. But for now, it's like, there's two pieces to this, as we learn at the end of the episode. Obviously, we already knew they were from another world, but it seems like it's not just another world. It seems to be another dimension. But either way, their home world is dying, and some of their brethren are weakened and don't have power, so they came traveling for, was it the Ordella? And this is going to be like, I guess, like, if you want to like make the Transformers comparison, it's like the Allspark, I guess. But it's like, yeah, it's such a key thing that could be the means of saving their world, but it's in a different world, so that's why they came here, and they met up with humans. But apparently there was a situation some years ago, because we don't know how far back the whole thing with Yakumo goes. All we know is like he's a Kagami, but I don't know if that... June didn't talk about him like that's his dad. He was just like, yeah, it happened so long ago. He's basically the founder of this city, so it could be a thing of that's like... That could be their grandfather, their great-grandfather. Who knows how far back generation-wise. Also, it's interesting to think about that meaning, especially because he's connected to Alma. How long have the Mecha-Udes been here on Earth? It's kind of an interesting thing to think about. They never expressly said this was Earth, but I'm assuming it is. But it could just be like it's a fictitious place in the world. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it's going to be like a fictitious, like, science fictional planet or something. I think it's just going to be Earth. But maybe it's just kind of like assumed, so they've never actually expressly said that about, like, the world that the Mecha-Udes come from versus this world and what the differences are. Are there no humans from where there are? I'm assuming, like, their connection to human beings, because they did say, oh, we came to this world and met humans. So they, I guess the Mecha-Udes are the only life forms from their world, maybe. But either way, they're after the Ordella, and that's the point I was making. They're not worried about Alma now, because it's like, well, we can always get him back later. Right now, we have to find the Ordella, and that's first. It's like, let's get the lock first before we get the key type of situation, because that's why both sides, why Kagami wants Alma, and that's why Arms wants Alma, because Alma is the one who helped Yakuma, like, all those years ago, seal away Ordella, and that might have something to do with why Alma doesn't have any memories. Maybe there's a specific reason of keeping his memory sealed because he knows the secret of unlocking or locking the Ordella, and it's like to make sure no one gets their hands on that. Maybe Alma's memories were taken away for a reason. Maybe it wasn't just an accident that Alma doesn't have any memories. Maybe it was done by design. But like, because they said like what popped this all off was like an accident happened years ago, and that forced Alma to have to seal away the Ordella. I wonder if that might have something to do with like Yakuma like being sealed inside of it or something, or maybe he had to be like a human sacrifice necessary for the seal, because maybe the seal needs like arbitrium, and he as humans have that in their bodies, so maybe he acted as a bit of a sacrifice. Who knows? Because all the photos of him are when he was young, not when he was old. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything, you know? But it's just like the photos we've seen of him just happen to be when he was young. So I'm like, I don't know, because we don't really know. They might not have really found anything. Hikaru, when he went with Alma to the library and stuff, to like library and stuff to look up information about the city's founding, to find out more about Alma in that regard. So, which is actually really heartbreaking that you see Alma start crying when he sees Yakuma's picture in the library, because for him it's like, whatever this was, it was so important, but I feel so useless because I can't remember. I'm forgetting something so monumentally important, considering like this is also someone that was important to me. They were like my partner in crime, just like Hikaru is. So that was kind of really sad moment of the episode. But anyway, I kind of went on a massive diatribe. But yeah, my whole point for going on that was like, right, I don't think they're worried about the Alma of it all. So it's like, right, June, go to the school if you want to. Hey, you learn anything from Hikaru, it's just going to make you stronger. But also, like, once again, the CEO probably doesn't care. It's just like, let June do whatever. Probably didn't really take notice of him. I mean, it was only other people taking notice that he took off with Ouroboros last episode. So you get what I mean? So... But yeah, the entire episode is a bumping of heads because Hikaru wants to talk to Jun to find out more about Alma, but Aki keeps getting in the way. Everywhere he goes, anytime he walks a little faster, she's right beside him. Like, oh, there's a rice ball over there. She's like, what? Where? Where's the rice ball? Huh? Hikaru, where are you going? And just won't leave him alone. I also love that Meru ends up being like the number one fan of this ship, because she's like, oh my god, like they must be so like, and other people are like, oh my god, I'm so jealous. But I think it's one of Hikaru's friends being like, I don't know if I see it like that, where it's just like, oh, you come to school together, because it's like she's literally carrying him into the classroom and plopping him down. But yeah, just doing everything she can to keep the two of them separated. He pulls out the black card, which I love. Almost like, oh my god, that's a black card. It's exclusive for like the super rich. And Hikaru is like, wow, it's interesting your knowledge of humanity, the random stuff you're picking up knowledge wise, Alma. But Aki was like, right, you don't need to give him any food. If you want to give anyone any food, you should give it to me. And I've ordered this very specific buffet I want, and starts drooling. Like I said, that's what made me go like, wow, I see the hungry, all about obsessed with food and kind of an idiot archetype. It seems to be prevalent in Aki. I love what it really comes down to is Meru showing up and like hog tying and putting a bow on Hikaru because he's the prize, and she's like, right, Aki, is Hikaru the most important person to you? And she's like, yes, he is. And then it's like, what about you, June? And June's like, yeah, he's mine. And she's like, right, you two are going to have to fight it out for him as the prize. It's so interesting because early on, and I think I talked about it, it seems like Hikaru might have a thing for Meru, but it hasn't really come up, and it's not clear. It might just be a friend that he might have a little bit of a crush on, or maybe he really does have feelings for it. But like, because if he does, she's completely oblivious to it because she keeps shipping him and Aki together. She was kind of, but that might also be a thing of, hey, maybe on some level she likes him too, but it's just like, no, I want to put these two people together because they're obviously in love, even though that's not what's going on here. It doesn't mean it won't eventually turn into something real, but we'll see. I don't know if this anime is going to go down that route. Feels like it would, like Aki and Hikaru, like something developing there, like not just from Meru's perspective, but legitimately between them. Feels like it could be that, but you don't know. It could just stay like a platonic thing. I doubt it, but there's always a possibility. But sadly, in the episode, was it Tawny ends up getting attacked by the worm type, and she ends up ripping off his Mecha-Ude and destroying it. And as we find out later on, once again, they're not just machines; they're mechanical life forms, just like humans. So, like humans can die, so can them. It's like there's no fixing it once. And I was kind of wondering, like, oh, are we gonna find out as the trigger arm can Alma do something to like help? But it's like that's sad. I was like, is that really going to be the end of this? Like, it's like, is his partner forever gone? And they're able to like stop the excess loss of Abitrium from Donnie, but it's like, isn't that only like a temporary solution? Like, would you be able to replace it with another Mecha-Ude? I don't think so, because then we wouldn't have the situation last episode. So not unless that is a possibility of replacing his Mecha-Ude to kind of compensate. But like I said, I wonder, is it going to be a reveal of like Alma can fix broken Mecha-Udes and bring them back? Like, if they're not completely gone, if they're not lost, maybe he can reconstitute them or something. I don't know. I think it's too sad to think that might just straight up be the end of it. So, and then obviously the stinger at the end of the episode is Aki finding out the truth about her sister is the worm type Mecha-Ude user. So, and I brought this up last episode. Now the big question to me, because my question was, does Aki know like that her sister's a Mecha user, and that's what she's after? Because all she said last episode was, my family was killed by the worm type. So I was like, did it take possession of your sister and killed your family, and you tracking it down because you know it's your sister? But it's like, no, she thought her, and she even said it. She's like, for killing my mom, my dad, and my sister. So it's like she thought her sister was dead. So once again, what are the possibilities? Either the worm type took over her and she killed her parents for whatever reason, or she willingly, because like maybe Aki wasn't there when her parents died, so she just assumed like my parents are dead, and maybe there was an accident where there were, because like you don't know about her, why didn't you ever find your sister's body if that was the case? So maybe it's like an accident happened and maybe remains of her parents were found, and maybe she just assumed her sister was dead, or maybe there was no remains found and it's just assumed they were all dead. Could also be the reveal that both of her parents are still alive, and the reason why her sister has a worm type is because maybe her parents weren't the good people she thought they were, and might find out that they're into something insidious. Because we don't know if whatever her sister's circumstances are, if that has anything to do with Kagami, or is that like a third party involvement? Like, what is... We haven't heard the worm type talk, but we can see that it possesses people. Because the way she's acting doesn't seem the same way that anyone else, like Tawny or the first dude at the beginning of the episode, were like being controlled. It doesn't seem the same. So she seems like she might be conscious, but it could easily be a puppet thing of maybe she is dead and it's moving around her corpse, which would be super morbid, but it's a possibility. And the thing is, like, Aki's been looking for revenge this entire time, and now you found your sister. Like I said, now comes a question if your sister's responsible for your parents' death. If they're dead at all, they're not behind all this. So what Aki does next is definitely going to be interesting, because she's going to be looking for answers, trying to understand all of this. And maybe that in itself, because we got a little peek at them when they were younger, and she's like, right, sis, protect me. Like, if anything ever happens to me, I know you'll protect me. So and especially when she was reading that menu, because Hikaru wanting to talk to June, so it's like, right, how do I convince her to back out of this? Oh, hey, if you leave me and June alone for a few minutes so we can talk, I will buy you this food. And that got her to back down. And I love Meru being like, wait, Aki, are you really just going to give up on Hikaru like that as she's getting dragged away? But she was looking at the food buffet menu, and it says, like, bring along friends and family. And, like, I'm sure, like, she probably would never say this, but obviously the closest thing she has to a friend is Meru and Hikaru, but obviously no family left. At least she didn't think she did. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us. I should also note that I don't think I've talked about it, but like the more and more I'm listening to that opening, the more and more I really like it. It's such a vibe, and it's just like so good. But I think I have talked about the ending. There's something like I think it's meant to be, but like vocally and instrumentally, like the sorrowfulness. It's one of those songs you like feeling in your soul. I want to track down the full version of the ending and the opening, but definitely the ending, because I'm like, there's something. I'm a sad boy, so I like sad music. So I'm like, I'm really like vibing. But like I said, like I mean, in a sense of how soulful it is, it feels like it caresses your souls with like the vocals and everything, and just like the instrument, like just the music itself. But then like the opening is just a banger where it's just like a vibe, and you just can't help but like kind of move to it. It's so good. So yeah, just kind of wanted to add that in there at the end here. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.